Hi there, Cultivated Life community. Today we are talking about 4 ways to cultivate connection with others, specifically through the power of attunement, which is kind of an aspect of empathy or empathy enhanced, if you will. Maybe you've seen the Brene Brown video of empathy, where she shows an animal that is inside this kind of pit they've fallen down into, and they're sad, and another animal, I think it's a giraffe, comes at the top and says, "Hey, how you doing? All right, here's a sandwich," and they walk off. That is not empathy. All of us can relate to incidences where we've been in a pit of our lives or experiencing something that's really challenging, and someone comes along and is just like, "Hey, how you doing?" And unless you say that you're fine or you just pretend like nothing's wrong, um, then there's no real further conversation. They kind of don't know what to do and they walk away, or they just tell you something that tries to fix you, or it doesn't attend to what actually needs to be cared about. So, for example, a person who's fallen in a well, let's say they've even hurt a bone and their body is injured, or you're in a pit figuratively because of despair or depression or something, handing someone a sandwich doesn't do anything to help them with the actual need that they have. Empathy is when that animal takes the ladder down into that pit and they're present with them. And so I think this other one had rain kind of pouring down over them, and it kind of starts to lift when there's simply the presence of someone else with them. And that is a powerful way to connect with other people through empathy. And sometimes we miss out on opportunities of connection with others simply because we don't know what to do or how to do it. It feels uncomfortable. And maybe we're not even aware of things that are going on inside of us. And that can definitely keep us from being able to connect with other people, particularly when they need us to simply be present or to be quiet or to kind of resonate in a different way. So, the power of attunement, which is a concept we're studying a lot in grad school for counseling, but attunement is something that we can all learn to do. Think about two instruments that are playing together in harmony. They're attuned with one another. So they're on beat, they're on melody, they're even, or one maybe playing a melody and one playing another, well, I don't even know what to call it anymore. It's been a long time since I've done music, but the notes resonate together. And even though they're not the same note, they can resonate and blend together beautifully. It creates a beautiful harmony. Okay. Attunement with another person is a powerful way of creating connection that resonates deeper than the simple interaction that is happening. So it's more than just being present. It's a powerful way of being present with somebody. And today I wanted to talk about 4 ways that we can develop attunement and grow in our ability to connect with other people. One of the reasons that this is really important to me to share with you is because as believers, so often we struggle with loneliness and isolation, and we might jump to these well meaning words, maybe things that we want to see come true in our life, but we're missing something. And that is saying, all I need is God. God is all I need, but I should be thankful because of God, but I should be grateful because of God. And what we're missing is how we actually connect with God and how God connects with us through other people. It is really important that we learn how to cultivate these connections so that we can offer that to others and be able to receive it from others when they're offering it to us. Just as it is hard for us to get those words out or to show that presence and be engaged with other people in their struggles, it is also hard for us typically to receive that from others, especially if you're anything like me and you want to give and you want to help and you want to be seen as useful. Then it can be really hard to just allow the struggling feelings, the anxiety feelings with someone else present who is attending to them, and they're maybe saying some things that aren't perfect, but they're trying to connect with you and they're there with you. It can be easy to kind of feel more uncomfortable with that and want to shove it aside. So this challenge for cultivating connection with other people is for both sides of the fence. Okay. The first aspect of cultivating connection through attunement is presence. And so that is the thing that I talked about, that animal just getting into the well and simply being with the other person. And to be present with another person is more than physical presence. It is also mental and emotional presence. So You know how when in conversations with others, very, very, very common. I do this all the time too, and I have to catch myself that you're thinking about what you want to say next in response rather than just listening to the other person. When we have enough poured into ourselves, we're able to receive just what that person is saying and doing without it being kind of like a negative imposition on us, when we're able to simply be present there for that person. So it's not explaining yourself or trying to fix them in any way, but being present in mind, body, and spirit. So not thinking about what the next answers are, not trying to figure out what it is that they're doing wrong and how that needs to change, or supplements that they need to take. Like sometimes I cringe on social media when somebody says that they're struggling with something, and immediately everybody's like, "Oh, try this. Have you tried this? Have you taken this? Have you done this?" And I have that tendency too. But even in social media, we can be present by simply letting them know that we hear them. I hear you. And that sounds hard. Wow. I imagine that's really challenging for you right now. I'm thinking of you. Those types of things that show our presence is focused on them and where they're at. So the second aspect of cultivating connection is care. And this type of care is taking that presence to the next level, focusing on the person over the problem. So, just like I said about not fixing that kind of thing, but when we're listening to someone's struggles, we can begin to focus on the problem itself, and even whether or not we agree with their reaction, or how this problem should be fixed, or how this person ended up in that problem in the first place. Sometimes it can um, be something that we start to wrestle with as if it's our solution to fix, as if it's going to change us if that person doesn't fix their problem. And that stirs up more anxiety within ourselves. So, part of number one is presence, and that's being able to simply be with that other person. And then, step three is kind of noticing what's happening inside of you. But let me finish talking about point two, care with the person over the problem. That means also that when that person is sharing their problem, and they may be sharing tough emotions, tough circumstances, they may be, maybe sometimes that frustration is rising. Don't be quick to say, whoa, 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 stop, calm down, make sure you're calm, make sure you're calm, like in this correcting phase. Remember, attunement is about connection over correction. This aspect of connecting with other people is a connecting thing. So our focus is connection, not the correction aspect. Okay. So that doesn't mean that if somebody is engaging in harmful behavior that you need to step up and say something and stop it. But that also means that we may need to grow in a little more tolerance in accepting some of the challenging emotions that surface. So when someone's anger is surfacing, they may need to get some of that anger out. And then we can be someone safe to say, wow, yeah, that is frustrating. Not to escalate that anger. How dare that person do it? But we can also relate in such a way to say, yeah, when you're trying to do this and then you have that response, it's frustrating that this happens, and kind of give them some words around it without escalating the issue into something that causes them to um, go in down a damaging path. But it's really more about just that presence with them, and then allowing some of those feelings to surface. Or if it's sadness and the tears are surfacing, that can be really uncomfortable to deal with when someone can't stop crying, or they seem to be crying over something that to you may not seem like a big deal, but you don't have that realm of experience that they have. And so allowing them to feel it without just pitying them, but just being there, and maybe even, well, yes, this would be definitely a part of it, because part of the attunement is actually resonating with what's going on inside of them. So if another person is sad about something, if you're looking them in their eyes and they can kind of see in your face that you're impacted by it, which when we're healthy individuals, our mirror neurons in our brains are actually going to do that. Um, Man, I apologize. My screen looked like it stopped recording for just a second. The helping mirror neurons in our brains will tend to respond to what another person is doing. And so when someone can see compassion in us, that impacts them. When they are crying and we're able to kind of allow ourselves to feel some of that with them, it is a powerful way of attuning and harmonizing and resonating with them where they're at. If we're not able to do that, if doing that takes us into an unhealthy place, then maybe it's just something that we can't offer at that moment. And we need to recognize those limits within ourselves. So, the third aspect of cultivating connection is noticing. And noticing is kind of noticing the things that are happening inside us. We cannot attune to others if something that they've said has triggered something inside of us that gives us strong emotions of anger or fear or sadness, then we're not able to connect with them because we have to deal with what's going on inside of ourselves first. And so if we have to be able to notice those things that are happening in us, but particularly noticing things that are happening with them. So you could be physically present and you could be trying to kind of listen and not jump in with your next thoughts, but maybe it's kind of happening in your mind anyway. But if you're not attempting to try to connect with them and actually do this attuning process of focusing on the person over the problem, then you're going to miss little cues of maybe things that they say or little maybe the way that they kind of look down and they're shying away from something that may give you a clue that that particular situation is extra challenging for them or that there's more pain there. And you can ask for more information if you want to say, it seems like this is really painful, is there something else going on? Or not pushing, not trying to get a lot out, but just noticing. And it may lead to healthy conversations or just opportunities to let them get a little bit more out. So, noticing also that person's interests and their challenges. So, maybe when someone is talking to you, and this is in a situation where it's not particularly challenging, or maybe the language and there's a transition in a challenging experience that's being shared, and then their eyes start to light up because something's exciting them. It has to do with one of their passions or something that's created positive memories. By noticing it, you can actually say something to them. Wow, I noticed your eyes really lit up about that. And in that process, you're tuning in to what is happening with them, and they're able to feel felt by you. That's what this whole process is about. This cultivating connection with other people and attuning includes feeling felt. That's a those terms I think I know Dan Siegel talks about it. I'm not sure if he was the first one that used that phrase of feeling felt, but it's this powerful experience of somebody seeing and knowing and then acknowledging it. So the last point I wanted to make about cultivating connection. So we talked about presence, care, noticing, and the fourth point is attending. So when you notice something, you could say it. You could say it with body gestures, kind of like your smile, or even just a tilt of the head. Sometimes that body language can say a lot. But noticing or attending is maybe saying what you notice, like what I mentioned before. I notice this seems really hard for you. Your eyes move away, or this is stirring up some sadness in you. And they may not know, and that's okay, but simply just identifying what they've even said and maybe getting like clarifying, repeating some of the things that they've said, but to be able to just let them know that you're attending to them and to the words and to their situation. Now, remember, in all of this, you can connect and attune with someone even when you do not agree with them. In the moment of initial connections and building relationship, oftentimes that's not the time to point out something. And it may be, like I said, if something is coming up that's really harmful, you don't want to just let that slide by. But let's say somebody has a choice that they've made in their life that you completely disagree with. That's not the time to say, well, I disagree. I think you need to do that. Actually, that's really an unhealthy approach to do it anyway. But it's a time to identify and to build this relationship. Remember, this is about cultivating connection And attuning is getting in sync with that other person. When we build those relational bonds and we have that in sync connection, it builds safety, it builds trust, it builds an opportunity to have some of those harder conversations down the road. So think about this next time when you're speaking with a friend or a child or your spouse, a loved one in your family. Just some way that maybe that person has always irritated you, or it's been hard to because they seem to have a lot of struggles. Remember, it's not your job to fix them. It's not your job to make them do anything one way or the other. But maybe in the next conversation that you have with them, you have an opportunity to simply sow some seeds of connection. And as Dr. Townsend would call them, relational nutrients. These are ways that we build nutrients into other people, and we need those, and then we can give those to other people. So, these same aspects that I talked about for each one of us to consider in our relationship or our connection with others who are struggling, maybe those are the same things that we need. And at some point, even if it's uncomfortable right now, it may be that your closest friend or the one that you feel safest with, that you're able to say, you know what, right? I need something right now. I need to be able to share this hard thing. And I need you to mostly be quiet and listen and just show that you care right now. I don't need answers. And then maybe another time you can let them know I need some suggestions. I don't know what to do next, and I need some ideas. That kind of clarification can be really helpful, and it helps each of us own our own lives, our thoughts and feelings. No one else has to guess what they are, but in a safe and trusting relationship, especially, that makes it stronger. It grows that bond even stronger. So I'm getting a little off topic now. I wanted to wrap up with these four main points on cultivating connection through attunement: presence, care, noticing, and attending. I hope these 4 points have been helpful for you. I'd love to hear your stories if you would like to share below in the comments, ways that maybe you've experienced someone doing this or that you want to try it with someone else. Feel free to share your experiences below. I would love to hear them. Take care, everyone.